This video will provide an overview of how to identify, locate, and shop for parts related to maintenance and restoration efforts on the Porsche 944. One common concern in vintage or classic car ownership is parts cost and availability. As car models continue to age, parts availability will generally diminish as demand drops off and new part production will be discontinued. But thanks to large production numbers and a community of enthusiasts with a passion for the series, the 944 is in a pretty good spot in this regard. Another common challenge deals with locating and acquiring specific parts needed for maintenance and restoration. Given the production length of the 944 and the many changes made not only between the early and the late models, but also with year-over-year improvements, tracking down the right part number for a particular model year can prove to be a difficult task faced by current owners. So those are the two primary items that will be addressed as we move forward. In terms of production volume, Porsche manufactured a grand total of over 163,000 cars in the 944 family between 1982 and 1991. And because of this high volume, most of the critical parts are still available either as OEM from Porsche or through aftermarket options created to support consumer demand. Additionally, there was a period in the late 90s and early 2000s where 944s could be obtained at bargain prices, often for just a couple $1,000s or even less for subpar examples, and as a result, almost anyone could afford to own one and not worry too much about maintaining its value. So many of them fell into disrepair and have now become parts cars. This benefits existing owners, however, by providing a supply of used parts as well as increasing the value of nicer car examples today as they become more rare. When it comes to tracking down part numbers in various online forum threads and comments, you'll often see questions like, what's the part number for that part, or does anybody have the part number for this part? So with that in mind, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the available alternatives for part number location. Perhaps the easiest way to locate a part number is to inspect the existing part on your car. Not in all cases, but oftentimes the Porsche part numbers will be stamped directly into the parts, sometimes on the back or the underside if not immediately visible from the top. So it's as easy as taking a look and popping that part number into a search, and you'll get a list of available options and prices. So what can we do if the part number is missing? Well, the next best alternative is to access the Porsche Classic Genuine Parts Catalog available for free online. And I'll also include a link to this website in the description. Once you've navigated to the site, simply scroll down and select the model and year of manufacture, then click Display to download the PDF. Once you have the catalog up, you can settle in for some nice lengthy scrolling in the 500-page document, but what's great about this is the pictures. So not only can you match up the part and confirm the applicable number, but you also get a good look at how everything fits together and identify any missing pieces. There's been a number of occasions where I'm looking at the pictures and I go, my car doesn't have that, and sure enough, you go out and look and see random brackets are missing, hoses, rubber covers, brake system components, and what have you, just not there. A lot of these cars were project cars for someone else who may have lost interest or time or money, and they're halfway disassembled and then passed on to the next person, so this can really come in handy for situations like that. The parts catalog is generally broken down by the different systems used on the car, and as you're looking at the table, you'll find that the POS number is the number that aligns with those in the illustration, followed by the part number that can be searched in a search engine, and there's also a description of the part. Under the remark column, you'll often find if it's specific to a particular model year, it'll say 87 or 88, and the quantity will tell you how many of that part is used in the system in the illustration, and the model will also specify sometimes if it's a turbo or if it's applicable to a particular engine number, that will be in that model column as well. Another thing to note on the late catalog is that it includes illustrations for the various submodels like the naturally aspirated, the turbo, and the S models, usually in that order. So if a picture looks off, you may be looking at information for another model, and here you can see the air filter housing differences as we scroll through each of the models. The scrolling method can be a bit time-consuming, so you can also perform a search in the document using Control F for a find function, and you can type in something like camshaft and hit enter to move through the results until you find the section you're looking for, and then scroll up to see the pictures. So say you're replacing your camshaft assembly seals, you can look and say, oh yeah, I also want to get some new bolt plugs. it's number 5, and then scroll back down to locate the part number and perform a search to track down that part. Let's say you also want to replace some of the hardware. Well, the document will list out the bolt specifications as well. So maybe you want to get some new bolts for the cam gear cover. Well, let's check out number 25. Okay, it's an M6x30 bolt, and I'm going to need 3 of them. And that's something that you could just pick up at a local hardware store or a site like bellmetric.com and save some money that way as well. When you're searching like this by part description, it can sometimes involve a little bit of trial and error because what you may call a part may not be the same thing as what Porsche would call the part. So if we search for the term alternator, there's one result that comes back and it's not very helpful, but Porsche has it listed as generator. So if we search for generator, that will bring us down to where we need to be. And once you're there, you can look and see, yep, let me also get a new ribbed belt, number 6, and a ventilation line, number 36. And then you can pull those part numbers and begin searching. So the parts catalog is really good for obscure parts or things that aren't showing up on some of the vendor sites, and provides a good overall view of the different systems and all the parts that are used in each one. For your more common items, you could simply go to a site that has a robust inventory and select your year, make, and model for the car and begin filtering down into the various systems and components to see what is available. If you don't find it on one site, try another and maybe another, and eventually you'll stumble upon what you need. You can also pull the part number from one vendor site and then perform a general search to see if anyone else is offering it at a better price and shop around that way as well. And as a last result, you could always search and see if there's a forum post related to specific parts and their corresponding part numbers on Renlist and other sites, etc. That brings us to the last piece, which is a brief overview of the major parts vendors that support Porsche and the 944 today. These are all avenues through which I have personally purchased automotive parts over the past few years. And the list here isn't meant to be a ranking of the vendors, but more so an explanation of the key benefits offered from each supplier. Pelican Parts is a well-known site that has an excellent web presence. It's easy to search and locate parts. There's lots of pictures and descriptions and part numbers, and they also offer some technical support to support the parts and their website. Autohouse Arizona is one that has a pretty robust inventory with competitive pricing, and they offer pretty good phone support as well. 944store.com has been very responsive, and they have probably the widest inventory. They've been able to track down some things for me that some of the other sites didn't have, even ordering things directly from Germany and bringing it over, so those guys are great. 944online.com has a lot of experience with the series, and they've vetted almost all their products, and they have a number of different kits that are available, which makes it really easy to get all the different pieces and components you need for particular service jobs on the car. Only 944.com offers some innovation to their products, so they're attempting to reinvent things and make it better, different seals, the short shifter, and a variety of things that just improve the 944 overall, and a lot of instructional support there as well. Renbei offers some great specialty products, so the power steering pump seals, fuel line kits, and things of that nature, which are very useful. Paragon Products and Lindsay Racing are a couple sites that specialize in performance parts. They have OEM stuff as well, but whether it be fuel system management, engine management, or suspension, a lot of different performance options from those two. Ply Hammer Parts is a family that parts out rundown 944s, and they have an excellent inventory that's constantly updated as they work through their cars, so check them out for some pre-owned parts at competitive rates. I've gotten quite a few things off of eBay, whether it be used or new parts. eBay obviously has a good search engine, so whether you're searching by part number or description, a lot of things will come up, and you can kind of assess the overall condition of used parts by looking at the pictures there. And of course, things like Craigslist or enthusiast forums take a little bit longer to find what you're looking for, but you may get some lucky finds. I ended up finding a OEM muffler and exhaust for $100 on Craigslist, and if I attempted to purchase it new from Porsche, it would have been over $1,000. So it's kind of hit and miss, but certainly good to check out from time to time. And of course, there's a number of other vendors out there, FCP Euro, Sunset Porsche, and other dealerships across the country that will sell things OEM. So feel free to check those out as well if you can't find what you're looking for. Well, that concludes the part number overview. Hopefully you found some best practices there to help you identify part numbers and track down the parts that you need. And good luck in your search efforts.